Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to talk through Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, published in 2018. But before we start, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Okay, let's get started. Goggins introduces the concept of denial as a comfort zone and discusses the potential that many people fail to realize. He shares his personal story of growing up in a rough environment, facing adversity, and eventually transforming into a mentally strong individual. The author challenges the notion that genetic limitations can prevent success, arguing that anyone can overcome obstacles with the right mindset. They emphasize the importance of personal accountability and self-mastery, urging readers to push past pain and fear, embrace failure, and live up to their full potential. Goggins believes that through study, habit, and storytelling, individuals can change and achieve their goals. They invite readers to embark on a journey of self-mastery by sharing their own life story. Goggins's book provides a glimpse into his turbulent childhood, growing up in a skating rink per bar owned by his father, Trunnis. His mother is trapped in an abusive relationship with Trunnis, who runs a hidden prostitution business. One night, after witnessing her father cheating, the mother attempts to leave with her children, but is physically assaulted by Trunnis. The police, turning a blind eye to the abuse, do nothing. The narrator's hatred for his father grows, and he decides to confront him. Later, Trunnis forces his son to undress before beating him with a belt. Refusing to show weakness, he stands up defiantly in front of a mirror after the brutal beating. The author and his mother endured physical beatings from his father, which left both of them traumatized. The mother was on the brink of suicide, while the author and his brother took out their pain on each other. The mother eventually hatched a plan to escape the abusive relationship, secretly obtaining a credit card and making arrangements with a neighbor to assist with their escape. They managed to leave their home and were pursued by the author's father, but they evaded him and started a new life. They eventually find refuge with the author's grandparents in Indiana, where he enrolls in school again. Goggins reflects on the impact of his second-grade teacher, Sister Catherine, who believed in him and dedicated extra time to helping him catch up academically. Meanwhile, his older brother returns to Buffalo, and the family settles into a 600-square-foot apartment in public housing. The mother enrolls in welfare to help make ends meet. Despite the hardships, Goggins and his mother count loose change to cover bills and manage to get by. Moving on to third grade, there he faces a different teacher, Ms. D, who shows no empathy for his learning struggles. Feeling the threat of being labeled as a special education student, the narrator develops a stutter and experiences social anxiety. Additionally, the toxic stress from his abusive upbringing contributes to his difficulties. He briefly attends group therapy and is prescribed Ritalin but decides not to continue with the therapy. Instead, he resorts to cheating to maintain a facade of improvement in school. His early experiences in Brazil, Indiana, shield him from the prejudice he would soon encounter. The chapter ends with the writer encouraging readers to reflect on the challenges they have faced in life and to use those challenges as fuel for future success. Goggins describes their close relationship with a man named Wilmoth, who became a father figure to them. Wilmoth helped him improve his basketball skills and celebrated holidays with the family. However, Wilmoth was unexpectedly shot and killed, leaving the writer and his mother devastated. The police were unable to determine why Wilmoth was killed. The family moved to Indianapolis, but their grief and the traumatic events they witnessed caused them to struggle emotionally. They eventually enrolled in a new school, where the writer faced challenges during basketball tryouts. Goggins experienced racism during his high school years in Brazil, Indiana. He describes incidents where he encountered racism from both strangers and people he knew. He shares two specific incidents, one where a man in a truck aimed a gun at him, and another where a girl's father confronted them in a restaurant and used a racial slur. These experiences lead Goggins to question who hates him and to feel a sense of loneliness as the only person of color in his school. This loneliness and the racism he experiences fuel his anger and provoke him to adopt stereotypical behaviors to spite the racists around him. Through his narrative, the implicit message is that racism causes deep pain and isolation, which can lead to destructive behaviors. Goggins went through a series of challenges and personal revelations that lead him to join the Air Force. After witnessing a teammate survive a skydiving accident, He was inspired to overcome the racism and taunts he faces in his own life. He realizes that he has been living without purpose and decides to make a change. Failing a test and receiving a letter from school about his academic performance serve as wake-up calls for the author. He starts holding himself accountable and sets goals for self-improvement. He confronts himself in a raw and honest manner, acknowledging his shortcomings and vowing to change. Through hard work, dedication, and self-reflection, he transforms himself and begins to pursue a better future. There was a time when he faced his fear by running down a street that terrified him. He was chased by dogs but managed to outrun them and conquer his fear. This experience taught him the importance of embracing discomfort and pushing himself to overcome challenges. He applied this mindset to his education, developing a system of memorization and recall that helped him improve his reading level and vocabulary. He also learned to not let others' negative opinions affect him, realizing that their prejudice was a reflection of their own insecurities. He built self-confidence through personal accountability and used it to propel himself towards his goals. He advises readers to be honest with themselves and use an accountability mirror to hold themselves accountable for their dreams and goals. The chapter also delves into his experience working in a job he disliked and feeling numb to his life's trajectory. Goggins also shares experience with water confidence training during his time in the military. He describes struggling with swimming and water-related exercises, feeling uncomfortable and lacking confidence in the water. He recounts specific evolutions, such as bobbing and buddy breathing, which pushed him to his limits. He admits to feeling fear, panic, and a sense of inadequacy compared to his classmates. Eventually, he quits the training program due to the discovery of his sickle cell trait, which was believed to increase the risk of exercise-related death. However, he feels a sense of shame and regrets his decision. He reflects on his weight gain and low self-esteem during this time, seeking solace in food. This prompts him to start questioning his life and considering the path of the Navy SEALs. The author then describes the protagonist's transformation from feeling stuck and hopeless to finding a renewed sense of purpose and determination. After watching a television show about Navy SEALs, the protagonist becomes inspired to join an elite special operations unit himself. Despite being overweight and facing multiple rejections from recruiters, he eventually connects with a Navy recruiter who believes in his potential. The protagonist sets out on a grueling journey to lose weight and improve his fitness, dedicating himself to intense physical training and studying for the required test. Despite facing challenges and doubts, he begins to make progress and experiences a significant weight loss. This newfound discipline and determination motivate him to continue pushing himself to achieve his dream of becoming a Navy SEAL. Goggins describes his intense physical training routine, including running, biking, swimming, and weightlifting. Despite his efforts, he experiences anxiety and depression, which strains his marriage. He uses his depression as motivation to continue pushing himself towards his goal of becoming a Navy SEAL. He recounts a moment when he fails to complete a pull-up workout, which frustrates him. He decides to repeat the entire workout, pushing himself harder to ensure he doesn't take any shortcuts. He finally takes the ASVAB test, a requirement for becoming a SEAL, and anxiously waits for his results. When he learns that he passed the test, he feels ecstatic and calls his mother to share the good news. The chapter ends with him engaging in intense physical training, preparing himself for the challenges that lie ahead. Hell Week, a grueling phase of Navy SEAL training. Goggins highlights the intensity and brutality of the training, emphasizing that this battle is fought within one's own mind. The instructors, particularly Psycho Pete, push the recruits to their limits, subjecting them to physical challenges and torturous conditions. He explains the significance of the bell, which symbolizes quitting, and reveals that many recruits have already given up. The first hour of Hell Week is initially exciting, but reality quickly sets in as the recruits face freezing water and surf torture, enduring extreme physical discomfort and mental turmoil. Despite the harsh conditions, he is determined not to quit, having experienced Hell Week once before and unwilling to succumb to the temptation of escaping the torture. Goggins emphasizes the importance of having a strong mindset and not giving up during the grueling training. He reveals how they obtained a copy of the Hell Week schedule to give them an advantage and describes the various challenges they faced, both physical and mental. He also highlights the competitiveness between boat crews and their determination to not let the instructors break them down. He concludes by expressing his desire to make the instructors think about boat crew too, even after the training is over. Goggins shares his strategy of taking souls during Hell Week, a grueling part of SEAL training. He wanted to mentally dominate his instructors and prove that he and his team were stronger than they thought. He describes how they lifted and threw a boat as a display of strength and resilience while chanting defiantly. He explains that taking souls is a mindset that can be applied to any challenge in life, not just physical ones, and that it involves gaining a tactical advantage over oneself to overcome obstacles. The author emphasizes the importance of knowing oneself, knowing the terrain, and outlasting one's opponents. Despite facing physical and mental exhaustion, he remains determined, driven by his desire to be the best and prove himself. Despite initial fears and doubts, he finds a newfound confidence in himself and his abilities. He describes the physical transformations he undergoes and the mental strength that carries him through the grueling challenges. Goggins and his team successfully complete Hell Week without losing any members. They celebrate with pizza and receive brown t-shirts, symbolizing their advancement to a higher level of training. The author's knee is injured, but he pushes through, determined not to give up on his dream. He then recounts a knot-tying drill in the pool, where the pain and physical strain test his endurance. While questioning his reasons for enduring the challenges of SEAL training, Goggins reflects on moments of pain and humiliation, where his mind was calloused and hardened. He realizes that his past experiences, including abuse and bullying, have prepared him for the difficult moments he faces in training. Pushing through physical pain and doubt helps him tap into his calloused mind and achieve incredible feats. He emphasizes the importance of managing one's thoughts and doubts, using physical training as a tool to strengthen the mind. Despite sustaining a fractured kneecap and facing uncertainty about his future, Goggins remains determined to continue his journey and discover more about himself. He was contemplating whether to give up on becoming a Navy SEAL and become a civilian fireman instead. He was afraid of going through the grueling training again. He spends the summer in the Midwest, considering his options and exploring other career paths. Ultimately, he decides to give it another shot and calls the SEAL training compound to confirm his decision. He reflects on the hardships of training, but knows that quitting would mean a lifetime of regret. He realizes that he has to face his fears and insecurities in order to truly succeed. He faces his past traumas and accepts that they have influenced him, but now he can use them as fuel to become stronger. He enters Class 235, determined to complete the training. Dobbs, driven by his insecurities and desire to prove himself, pushed his crew to the breaking point. However, Dobbs eventually reached a breaking point himself, realizing his own flaws and feeling mentally and physically drained. He ultimately quit his training. Another classmate, Scop, tragically died during the rigorous training, further emphasizing the extreme challenges they faced. The protagonist, the author, also shares his own struggles and determination to push through despite his broken legs. He wraps his legs in duct tape and uses intense mental focus to endure the pain and continue his training. They endured extreme pain, including taping their feet and swimming with bound hands and feet. Despite the difficulties, they persevered and even enjoyed the brutality. Eventually, they graduate and reflect on their journey. They express a sense of sadness to see Bud-S go, as it pushed them to their limits and made them stronger. Goggins discusses the importance of visualization in achieving goals, emphasizing the need to anticipate and overcome challenges. They also mention the significance of hard work and preparation, sharing an anecdote about a race they participated in and the advice they received from their former instructor. Goggins reflects on his decision to participate in a 100-mile race without any prior training. Despite the absurdity of his choice, he sees it as a way to mentally prepare himself for war. He describes the intense powerlifting session he has with a friend before the race. The race itself takes place in San Diego and involves a competitive field of runners, including an athlete from Japan who the author keeps pace with for a while. His support crew, consisting of his wife and friends, find amusement in his unconventional approach to the race. Despite the physical challenges and doubts he faces during the race, Goggins pushes on, fueled by a deeper purpose and a desire to honor fallen comrades. The book also briefly mentions his military training and his connection to Operation Red Wings, a failed mission in Afghanistan. Goggins shared the story of Marcus Luttrell, a Navy SEAL who survived Operation Red Wings but lost his companions in the mission. After receiving news of the mission's failure, Marcus's brother Morgan traveled to San Diego to gather information and support from fellow SEALs. Marcus was eventually found alive, the lone survivor of the mission. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Goggins decided to run the Badwater 135 Ultra Marathon to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. However, he faced resistance from the race director, Chris Kosman, who challenged him to complete a 100-mile race in order to earn his spot. During the San Diego one-day race, he endured physical pain and suffered vivid flashbacks from his training as a SEAL. Despite this, they pushed themselves to keep going, motivated by their past victories and determination not to quit. They reflect on the concept of the cookie jar, a metaphorical collection of past accomplishments that can be drawn upon for inspiration and strength in difficult times. He realizes that in order to succeed, they must make the race personal and tap into their own resilience. They confront the challenging questions that arise in such moments and choose to keep pushing forward, using their past successes to fuel their resolve. Despite the intense pain and fatigue, they find ways to overcome and persevere. Goggins then recalls his experience of running 101 miles without any training. Despite the physical pain and challenges he faced, he felt a tremendous sense of accomplishment. However, when he reached out to Chris Kosman, the person in charge of the Badwater race, he was met with a lack of enthusiasm. Kosman suggested that he needed to run for a full 24 hours, not just 101 miles. Frustrated but determined, he began searching for another ultra race to bolster his application. He discovered the Hurt 100, which was known for its extreme difficulty. Despite his injuries, Goggins decided to participate. The chapter ends with him surprising everyone, including himself, by competing in the Las Vegas Marathon and being on track to qualify for the Boston Marathon. They recount their determination and perseverance during a marathon race, pushing through physical challenges and hitting a wall at mile 18. Despite the difficulties, they find rejuvenation and eventually qualify for the Boston Marathon. They contemplate the question of their own capabilities, realizing that they have often settled for less in life. Goggins then shifts to training for an ultra-trail race, describing their intense physical preparation and the challenges faced during the race. They encounter technical terrain, broken equipment, and face doubts from others, but find camaraderie and push through the darkness of the night. During a race in Hawaii called the Hurt 100, he pushes his physical and mental limits. He explores the idea that the human body has untapped potential and that most people only use 40% of their capabilities. Goggins advocates for pushing beyond pain and suffering in order to reach higher levels of performance and excellence, both in sports and in life. He refers to the concept as the 40% rule and encourages readers to embrace their obsessions, challenge their self-limiting beliefs, and overcome their mental barriers. He shares anecdotes from the race, including encountering another runner in a delirious state and witnessing a seasoned runner glide effortlessly through challenging terrain. He emphasizes the importance of changing one's mindset and putting in the extra effort to unleash one's full potential. Despite feeling exhausted during the Hurt 100, he finishes the race and earns 9th place. They then focus on preparing for the Badwater race by researching and studying the course, visualizing each stage, and conducting physical training. Despite injuries, Goggins faces skepticism and negative opinions from others, but they remain determined to pursue their dreams. They emphasize the importance of creating a positive mindset and pushing through difficult moments. The author's physical training and mental resilience lead them to the starting line of the Badwater race, where they are ready to take on the challenge. He encourages readers to gradually increase their workload and to embrace discomfort in order to achieve personal growth and success. He also mentions his motivation to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, showing his commitment to supporting a worthy cause. Goggins reflects on his personal growth and the impact it has had on his relationship with his mother. He recalls how he used to feel like he hadn't achieved much in life, but now he appreciates being able to show his mother a better life. He also recounts participating in an ultra race called Ultraman, where he meets a man in a wheelchair who inspires him with his determination and heart. He talks about his lack of preparation for the race, including not owning a bike and having limited training in swimming. Despite these challenges, he perseveres and pushes himself to the limit. He experiences setbacks, including a bike accident, and struggling during the run, ultimately coming in 2nd place. he shares the importance of having backstops or alternative strategies to navigate through challenges and achieve success. Goggins became involved in recruiting African Americans into the Navy SEALs. Admiral Ed Winters, the top man at Naval Special Warfare Command, approached him for help in reaching out to black men to join the SEAL teams. He shared his own life story during recruitment speeches, was given the task of visiting schools and universities to spread the message of the Navy SEALs and recruit potential candidates. Despite facing initial skepticism, he used his ultra racing and training as a platform to engage with students and demonstrate the Navy SEAL ethos of pushing beyond limits. With his personal experiences and dedication, he inspired many individuals, regardless of their interest in a military career, to strive for their fullest potential through hard work and perseverance. Goggins emphasizes that passion, talent, and obsession are only effective if accompanied by a strong work ethic. He shares personal anecdotes about their own work ethic, including waking up early to exercise and maximizing productivity throughout the day. They also highlight the importance of eliminating time-wasting activities and prioritizing tasks. He suggests auditing one's schedule to find opportunities for more work and less bullshit. Additionally, they stress the need for rest and recovery, emphasizing that a rest day can be beneficial for overall productivity. Goggins also shares his experience of undergoing medical tests, which leads to the diagnosis of an atrial septal defect, ASD, a hole in the wall between his right and left atria. The doctor explains the implications of the defect, including limited oxygen supply and its effects on his physical performance. Goggins reflects on his endurance and accomplishments despite his condition, highlighting the resilience of the human mind and the role of determination in achieving success. However, the first surgery to patch the hole proves unsuccessful, leading to complications and the need for a second surgery. Despite the setbacks, he is determined to maintain an optimistic attitude and continues to strive for success in his military career. Rigorous physical training they underwent, including competing in long-run swim runs, and the author emphasis on being mentally and physically prepared for combat. He also expresses his preference for pushing himself to the limits and training for opportunities that didn't yet exist, rather than partying like some of his fellow SEALs. His dedication and commitment earn him respect, but also isolates him, as he is seen as different from the rest. Despite this, he continues to prove himself, earning a spot in Army Ranger School and preparing for DevGru, striving to become one of the best special operators. At Ranger School, Goggins underwent grueling physical training and developed leadership skills. He pushed himself to lead his fellow trainees and became uncommon among uncommon men. During a severe winter storm, he embraced the harsh conditions and motivated his team to persevere. Ultimately, he graduated from Ranger School, losing weight and looking emaciated. After a brief recovery, he joined his 2nd SEAL platoon and aimed to make them the hardest platoon in the fight. However, his relentless training regimen was not well received by some team members, leading him to realize that not everyone shared his commitment to constant improvement. He recognizes the importance of never being satisfied in life, as it is an ever-changing challenge. Goggins emphasizes the mindset of starting at zero each day, always striving to become stronger and more capable. During his 2nd platoon, where he felt frustrated with his teammates' lack of drive, he and another teammate, Sledge, committed to intense and relentless daily workouts, pushing themselves physically and mentally. The author also shares his perspective on race during an interview for a prestigious military organization, where he embraced the challenge and stood up for himself. Ultimately, he recounts his decision to screen for Delta Force after not receiving orders for Green Team, highlighting the rigorous selection process and his determination to excel. After performing well in various tests, Goggins finds himself in the final stages of Delta Force selection. However, during a land navigation test, he gets lost and injures his ankle. Despite the setback, he pushes through the pain and continues with the selection process. Ultimately, he misses a time checkpoint and is eliminated. Although disappointed, he receives praise from the Delta Force officers and is encouraged to try again in the future. On a military training exercise, Goggins navigated unfamiliar terrain using power lines. He admits to becoming overconfident and losing his way, but manages to find his 5th checkpoint in the nick of time. However, he realizes that he made a mistake in assuming there were only 5 checkpoints when there were actually 6. He quickly adjusts his plan and manages to reach the 6th checkpoint just before the time limit. Despite his impressive performance, he is ultimately disqualified due to breaking the rules. He then transitions to his time as a SEAL, where he experiences physical issues during his runs and decides to focus on pull-up exercises instead. He sets his sights on breaking the pull-up record and successfully raises money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Although he faces challenges and doubts during the attempt, he perseveres and completes a significant number of pull-ups. Goggins then describes his second attempt at breaking the world record for pull-ups. He reflects on his initial failure and the mistakes he made. He realizes that he didn't respect the record enough and lacked focus and attention to detail. He also acknowledges that there were too many distractions during his first attempt. For his second attempt, he finds a better location and prepares meticulously, researching and experimenting with various techniques. During the attempt, he faces challenges such as blistering and cramping in his hands, but he pushes through the pain. However, after reaching over 3,200 pull-ups, the pain becomes unbearable, and he ultimately fails to break the record due to severe hand injuries. Goggins the Bee reflects on his failed attempt to break the pull-up record and his determination to try again. He discussed the importance of surrounding himself with people who will tell them what they need to hear rather than what they want to hear. His mother is their biggest fan and encourages them to try again. They analyze their failures and successes from previous attempts and make adjustments to their strategy and mindset. He decides to start slower, protect his hands with custom foam pads, and stay focused on their goal. Despite experiencing pain and doubt, he remains determined to push through and achieve his goal. Comparing his journey to breaking the 4-minute mile, he emphasizes the importance of perseverance and not letting doubts or external opinions limit one's potential. Goggins reflects on his mindset as he pushed himself to achieve his goals, using personal competition and doubt as motivation. He describes his record-breaking feat of completing over 4,030 pull-ups in one day and his lackluster reaction to the achievement. He emphasizes his relentless pursuit of success, recounting his participation in grueling races like the Badwater Ultramarathon. Despite setbacks and doubts, he perseveres and finishes strong in the Frozen Otter race. However, he then experiences a decline in performance leading up to the Badwater race in 2014 due to various physical and mental challenges. Despite these difficulties, he remains determined to push himself and overcome obstacles in pursuit of his goals. Goggins then describes his experience of participating in a challenging race. He recounts how he initially struggled with exhaustion and muscle spasms, but continued to push himself until he finally had to admit defeat. Feeling sick and fatigued, he sought medical help, but was unable to find a clear diagnosis for his symptoms. He describes the frustration and confusion he felt as he underwent various tests and tried different medications. Eventually, he realizes that his physical ailments are connected to the emotional and psychological challenges he has faced throughout his life. Reflecting on his journey, he comes to a place of acceptance and gratitude, finding peace in the midst of his pain. In a moment of insight, he recognizes the importance of releasing judgment and embracing self-appreciation. Goggins also mentions his journey of using stretching as a method of healing and recovery. After developing his own unique stretching regimen, he treated his own injuries and built a reputation among elite athletes, eventually being introduced to Navy SEALs. He initially resisted the idea of stretching, believing that it would decrease his strength and power. However, faced with health issues, he decided to give it a try. He started with simple stretches, enduring pain and discomfort, and gradually increased the duration and intensity of his stretching sessions. Through consistent dedication, he noticed improvements in his overall health and energy levels. He continued stretching for several hours daily and achieved remarkable physical feats post-military retirement, transformed from a marginalized individual into a successful individual. Goggins's book also emphasizes the importance of self-talk and the power of challenging one's own self-doubt. It highlights that the most significant conversations we have are with ourselves, shaping our beliefs and actions. By adopting the mentality of what if, we defy those who doubt us and silence negativity. It encourages embracing failures and using them as motivation to envision audacious achievements. He also acknowledges that pursuing personal growth requires enduring pain, and consistently pushing boundaries. Living this way has no end and can lead to continuous improvement. Despite age, they found renewed passion and success in their firefighting career and running, proving that they can still achieve remarkable feats. The book concludes by affirming a commitment to pushing limits and responding to skeptics with the question, "What if?" Thank you so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next video.